this party started. This popped in my head a while back, and I'm telling you, it's a sheer coincidence that it happened. I was thinking to myself, I'm doing a story on black women during the Black Power movement. And I kind of have to think outside of my knowledge. Like, what if I didn't know what I know, what questions would I have? Or would I be the type of person that would just skip over asking that question because it'll make me look like I'm uninformed or look dumb or look stupid or whatever? So I would just try to catch up just to catch up. Don't want to be that person. So one of the questions that popped in my head was that somebody may have a question about is, instead of going straight into the women during the Black Power movement, why don't I answer the question of what is the Black Power movement?
Black power has historically been characterized as being anti-white, but that's not really the case. The Black Power movement was an outgrowth of black nationalist thought that privileged black self-determination and pride, but it was not inherently racist in its scope. It recognized the role of white supremacy in everyday society and essentially encouraged black people to create spaces for themselves in a society that was constantly excluding them from its services, resources, and institutions. Inspired by folks like Malcolm X, the Black Power movement encouraged black people to stop worrying about inclusion and to start creating spaces for themselves. The idea of black power was not a new phenomenon, but it did become more popular during the 1960s. Its popularization stemmed from the decolonization of the African continent, disillusionment with the shortcomings of the civil rights movement, and a recognition of the decades-long trauma of Jim Crow. Many black Americans were struggling to find social and economic stability after generations of state-sanctioned segregation. While many believed that the civil rights movement did formally end Jim Crow, one of the major critiques of the movement and its legislative victories, like the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the Fair Housing Act of 1968, was that it did not adequately address issues of poverty, housing inequality, unemployment, over-policing, and a lack of educational resources. And these are all things that disproportionately impacted black communities.
So there we go. So to answer one stipulation of people who are on the other side who don't believe in any of this, being pro-black does not mean anti-white. It means you have pride in yourself, in your community, in the people surrounding you. That's what it is. It doesn't mean we have to put down, because that's what bullies are. We have to put down somebody else to make ourselves feel better. That's not going to work with the Black Power movement. We're just having pride in and of ourselves. Hey, Parker. This is where Stokely Carmichael come in, I think. Probably so. And honestly, I have to find a time to do a deep dive into Stokely Carmichael because I don't know that much about him. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that's one of Viz's favorite people that he like to talk about. So I want to do a deep dive into Stokely Carmichael. You got anything, Anna?
Not fresh. I just want to again stress that having pride in yourself has nothing to do with anything else. It's and your pride should not affect my pride. And it doesn't. I celebrate your pride. Ultimately, a lot of white people are afraid that the minorities, when they become the majority, will they treat us as bad as we have treated them? And you have so many different examples to look at through history that, no. I've only just heard people wanting to live their lives in dignity. That's
Yeah. Tracy?
Dead on what Anna said.
All right. So let's move on. So when you think of Black Power, you automatically think of Black Panthers. So let's just go ahead and take a deep dive and get into it and look into the women that was in the Black Panthers party.